In today's episode, we're exploring the 5 most brutal big cats attacked, from a wildlife researcher's fatal tiger encounter to an illegal hunter's deadly Sundarban's mistake. Let's begin with the first story, where 2 brothers' hunting trip became their father's worst nightmare. It was April 16th, 2017, and the rugged wilderness of South Africa's Limpopo province stretched endlessly under the scorching African sun. The vast bushveld landscape, dotted with acacia trees and rocky outcroppings, provided perfect habitat for some of Africa's most dangerous predators. Xander and Colt Castellano, ages 19 and 21, had traveled from their family's Texas ranch for what was supposed to be the hunting trip of a lifetime, a graduation gift from their wealthy rancher father. The Castellano brothers had grown up hunting white-tailed deer and wild hogs on their family's 10,000-acre ranch outside Dallas, but this African safari represented their first encounter with a truly dangerous game. Their father had spared no expense, hiring one of South Africa's most experienced professional hunters as their guide and booking them into an exclusive hunting concession known for its large lion population. Both young men were skilled marksmen who had been hunting since childhood, but they were also known troublemakers who had a history of creating chaos wherever they went, often ignoring authority figures and acting impulsively. Their professional hunter had spent the morning tracking a large coalition of male lions that had been terrorizing local cattle ranches, making them prime targets for trophy hunters willing to pay premium prices. The guide had located the lions resting in thick bush during the heat of the day, positioning the brothers for what should have been a straightforward shot at close range. African lions are apex predators that can weigh up to 420 pounds and possess incredible strength, speed, and endurance. Male lions are particularly dangerous when wounded, as their territorial instincts and pain combine to create an extremely aggressive and unpredictable adversary. Lions can reach speeds of 35 miles per hour in short bursts and possess powerful jaws capable of delivering a bite force exceeding 650 pounds per square inch. Xander, the younger brother, fired first, his shot striking the massive male lion in the shoulder rather than the vital chest area their guide had indicated. The wounded lion roared in pain and fury before disappearing into the dense bush, leaving a clear blood trail that experienced hunters knew indicated a dangerous situation. As their professional hunter assessed the shot placement and began coordinating the follow-up procedure, a sudden equipment malfunction caused his radio to fail just as he was calling for backup. The rocky terrain created a natural barrier that temporarily separated him from the brothers as he moved to higher ground, seeking radio contact with base camp. True to their troublemaking nature, Xander and Colt decided to pursue the wounded lion immediately during this brief separation, believing their hunting experience back home had prepared them for tracking dangerous game. They grabbed their rifles and followed the blood trail into the thick vegetation, ignoring everything their guide had taught them about wounded, dangerous game protocols. The wounded 400-pound lion had taken refuge in a dense thicket of wait-a-bit thorns, where his golden coat provided perfect camouflage among the dappled shadows. Xander entered the thicket first, his rifle raised and ready, but the dense vegetation made it impossible to see more than a few feet in any direction. The lion waited until both brothers were deep in the thorns before launching his attack. The lion's initial charge struck Xander with devastating force, his massive paws driving the young man to the ground while his claws raked across Xander's chest and arms. The impact knocked Xander's rifle from his hands as the lion's jaws clamped down on his neck and head, his 4-inch canine teeth compressing his airway and causing catastrophic trauma. Xander lost consciousness within seconds as the lion's powerful bite compressed his airway and severed critical blood vessels, though the fatal damage would take several minutes to complete its work. The wounded lion remained focused on Xander, his predatory instincts driving him to maintain his grip on his victim. When Colt moved closer and began shouting at the lion while raising his rifle, the big cat's attention shifted adapted to this new threat. The lion released Xander and immediately turned toward Colt, his wounded state making him even more aggressive and unpredictable. The lion's claws tore through Colt's safari shirt and deep into his chest and shoulders, while his powerful jaws sought purchase on the young man's neck. Colt managed to fire one shot that struck the lion in the leg, causing the wounded predator to retreat deeper into the bush after inflicting severe injuries on both brothers. The brothers' father and their professional guide reached the thicket 45 minutes later, after the guide had restored radio contact and organized a search when the brothers failed to respond to calls. They found Xander unconscious and dying from massive blood loss and trauma, while Colt remained barely conscious with severe wounds across his chest and shoulders. The nearest hospital was over 200 miles away, and arranging helicopter evacuation from the remote concession required nearly 3 hours of coordination between multiple agencies. During the long flight to Johannesburg, Xander succumbed to his injuries from blood loss and trauma. Colt survived the initial surgery, but died from multi-organ failure following overwhelming infection and trauma 2 days later. The investigation revealed that both brothers had violated fundamental hunting safety protocols by pursuing wounded, dangerous game without their guide. The tragedy devastated their father, who never recovered from losing both sons in a single day. The incident led the hunting concession to implement stricter safety protocols, requiring clients to remain within sight of their professional guides at all times, with immediate hunt termination for any safety violations. The Castellano family's hunting trip had become an unthinkable tragedy that would haunt their father for the rest of his life. But the brothers' encounter with a wounded lion wasn't the only time big cats proved why they remain among the world's most dangerous predators. It was September 8, 2015, and the ancient forests of India's Ranthambore National Park echoed with the sounds of the monsoon season as Dr. Kavitha Nair made her way through the dense jungle undergrowth. The 34-year-old wildlife biologist from Delhi had been conducting research on tiger behavior patterns for her doctoral thesis, spending 8 months studying the same territory with proper forest department escorts and safety protocols. Dr. Nair had earned her master's degree in wildlife biology before specializing in big cat behavior research that had taken her to reserves across India and Southeast Asia. Her passion for tiger conservation had developed during childhood visits to national parks with her father, a Forest Service officer who had instilled in her a deep respect for India's apex predators. Her current research project focused on documenting how female tigers with cubs adapted their hunting and territorial behaviors during the monsoon season. She carried state-of-the-art GPS tracking equipment and camera traps that allowed her to monitor tiger movements without direct human interference. Dr. Nair had been tracking a female tiger with 2 young cubs as part of a comprehensive study on maternal behavior in wild tigers, accompanied by her assigned armed forest department escort, as required by her research permits. Her research was groundbreaking work that would contribute significantly to tiger conservation efforts across India. The monsoon rains had created challenging conditions throughout the park, with swollen streams and muddy terrain making navigation difficult. While following a game trail through particularly dense vegetation, Dr. Nair momentarily lost visual contact with her escort when the path split around a large fallen tree. The separation lasted only minutes, but in that brief window, she unknowingly entered a critical zone where a tigress had hidden her cubs. Bengal tigers are among the world's most powerful predators, with adult females weighing up to 300 pounds and possessing incredible strength, speed, and hunting ability. Female tigers with cubs are particularly dangerous, as their maternal instincts drive them to eliminate any perceived threat to their offspring with extreme aggression. Dr. Nair had been focused on navigating the muddy terrain when she failed to notice the tiger cubs resting in a small depression just off the path. When she took a step closer to examine what she thought was interesting vegetation, she unknowingly positioned herself between the mother tiger and her young, triggering the most dangerous situation possible with a wild tiger. The female tiger detected Dr. Nair's presence immediately and interpreted her position as a direct threat to her cubs. The 280-pound tigress moved through the jungle with deadly silence, using her natural camouflage and hunting instincts to position herself for an attack that would eliminate the perceived danger to her offspring. Dr. Nair realized her mistake when she heard the tiger cubs calling to their mother, but it was already too late. The tigress launched her attack from less than 10 feet away, her powerful legs propelling her massive body through the air with explosive force. Dr. Nair had no time to react, as 280 pounds of enraged mother tiger struck her with devastating impact. The tigress's claws raked across Dr. Nair's back and shoulders, opening deep gashes that severed muscles and arteries, while her powerful jaws delivered a powerful bite to the upper shoulder and neck region. The tiger's incredible jaw strength crushed bones and vital structures with mechanical precision as Dr. Nair's body was driven to the ground. The tigress maintained her grip for several seconds, ensuring the threat was neutralized before dragging Dr. Nair's body several meters away from her cub's location. Having eliminated what she perceived as a danger to her offspring, the protective mother then disengaged and moved her cubs to a safer location deeper in the forest. Dr. Nair's escort found her body within 20 minutes after losing visual contact, following her GPS signal and the sounds of the brief but violent encounter. Despite immediate radio calls for emergency medical assistance, Dr. Nair had succumbed to fatal injuries from the tigress's decisive attack. The investigation revealed that the momentary separation from her escort, while brief and unintentional, had created the dangerous situation that led to her death. Forest Department officials emphasized that tiger attacks in protected reserves remain extremely rare, with this incident representing a tragic convergence of circumstances during maternal protection behavior. The tragedy led to comprehensive policy reforms within the park. New regulations mandated that all research activities be suspended during severe weather conditions, required researchers to carry satellite communication devices in addition to standard radios, and established protocols to prevent even momentary separation between researchers and their armed escorts. The scientific community mourned the loss of a brilliant researcher whose work had contributed significantly to tiger conservation efforts. But Dr. Nair's encounter with a protective mother tiger wasn't the only time big cats proved their deadly efficiency as apex predators. It was November 23, 2014, and the rugged wilderness along the border of Montana's Glacier National Park lay shrouded in early winter snow as Talon Blackfeather tracked an injured deer through the dense forest. The 28-year-old Native American ranch hand supplemented his income by working as a hunting guide during deer season, using skills passed down through generations of his family, who had lived in this harsh landscape for centuries. Talon had grown up on the Blackfeet Reservation just outside the park boundaries, learning traditional tracking methods from his grandfather, while also mastering modern hunting techniques during his years working for local ranchers. His reputation as one of the area's most skilled trackers had made him a sought-after guide among hunters visiting Montana, providing crucial supplemental income during the harsh winter months when ranch work became scarce. As an experienced tracker familiar with the area, Talon often helped local ranchers recover wounded wildlife that wandered onto their property from the adjacent wilderness. Talon had decided to track a deer that had been struck by a car on Highway 2, just outside the park boundary on private ranch land. The injured animal had managed to cross onto the ranch property where Talon worked, and the landowner had asked him to locate and dispatch it humanely to prevent suffering and potential predator attraction. His familiarity with the area and confidence in his abilities made him comfortable working alone. The blood trail led Talon deep into a remote canyon on the ranch property where few humans ventured, especially during the harsh Montana winter. The injured deer had managed to travel nearly 2 miles before finally succumbing to its injuries in a small clearing surrounded by dense timber. Talon's years of experience had taught him to remain alert for signs of predators, but his focus on the tracking task had made him less cautious than usual. Talon discovered the deer carcass in the small clearing, but he immediately realized he wasn't alone when he spotted the large male cougar feeding on the opposite side of the kill. The 150-pound cat looked up from his meal, his amber eyes fixed on Talon with the intense stare of a predator predator assessing a potential threat to his food source. Mountain lions, also known as cougars or pumas, are North America's largest wild cats, with adult males weighing up to 200 pounds and possessing incredible strength and agility. They are solitary hunters, with excellent camouflage and the ability to leap vertically up to 15 feet and horizontally up to 40 feet. Cougars are territorial animals that will aggressively defend their kills from any perceived threat, and their powerful jaws and razor-sharp claws make them extremely dangerous when cornered or challenged. Most experienced outdoorsmen know that the proper response to a cougar encounter is to back away slowly while maintaining eye contact, making yourself appear as large as possible without making sudden movements. But Talon's frustration at losing the deer he had tracked for hours, combined with his confidence in his size advantage, led him to make a fatal decision. Instead of retreating, Talon began shouting at the cougar and throwing rocks, believing his aggressive behavior would intimidate the big cat into abandoning its kill. He had successfully scared off black bears using similar tactics, but mountain lions respond very differently to human aggression, especially when defending a fresh kill. The cougar interpreted Talon's aggressive actions as a direct challenge for possession of the deer carcass. The big cat crouched low with his ears flattened and tail twitching, maintaining his threatening posture while Talon continued his aggressive display. When Talon took several steps closer, while continuing to shout and throw rocks, the cougar's defensive instincts fully activated. Talon turned momentarily to pick up a larger rock, and in that instant, the 150-pound predator struck with the silent efficiency that made cougars such deadly hunters. The big cat covered the distance in a single explosive leap, attacking from behind with devastating precision. The cougar's powerful jaws clamped down on the back of Talon's neck with crushing force, his canine teeth causing catastrophic cervical trauma leading to rapid paralysis. Talon's attempts to fight back were cut short as the cougar's bite caused immediate loss of motor function and rapid unconsciousness. The attack lasted less than a minute, with the cougar maintaining his grip until all movement ceased. The big cat's natural hunting instincts, perfected over millions of years of evolution, had eliminated the threat to his kill with lethal efficiency. Once satisfied that Talon posed no further danger, the cougar dragged the body several feet into cover and resumed feeding. Talon's body was found 3 days later by search teams after he failed to return home from his tracking expedition. The heavy snowfall and remote location had complicated search efforts, while the cougar had moved the body into dense timber where it was partially concealed. The investigation revealed clear evidence of the encounter, including cougar paw prints in the snow and the defensive feeding behavior around the deer carcass. The investigation confirmed that Talon had been working within his authorized duties on private ranch land when the encounter occurred. The local Native American community mourned the loss of an experienced outdoorsman whose knowledge of the land had made him a respected guide and tracker. But Talon's encounter with a territorial cougar wasn't the only time big cats demonstrated their deadly efficiency as apex predators. It was July 12, 2016, and the vast wetlands of Brazil's Pantanal stretched endlessly under the scorching South American sun as Enzo Vasquez navigated his small boat through the maze of channels and lagoons that made this region one of the world's most biodiverse ecosystems. The 41-year-old freelance nature photographer from São Paulo was working on a magazine assignment about jaguar conservation, desperately needing this project to succeed after months of financial struggle. Enzo had been in the field for 2 weeks, camping in remote areas and following jaguar tracks through the gallery forests and wetlands that provided perfect habitat for South America's largest cat. His small following among wildlife photography enthusiasts wasn't enough to provide steady income, and this assignment represented his best opportunity to establish himself among the world's top wildlife photographers. The Pantanal's dry season had created ideal conditions for jaguar photography, as the big cats were forced to concentrate around permanent water sources and established hunting territories. Enzo had been following reports from local guides about a large male jaguar that had been seen regularly along a particular stretch of river, hunting caimans and capybaras in the shallow water. Jaguars are the third largest cats in the world and the apex predators of South America, with adult males weighing up to 250 pounds and possessing incredibly powerful jaws capable of crushing bone and skull. Unlike other large cats, jaguars are excellent swimmers and often hunt in water, using their devastating bite force to kill caimans and other aquatic prey with crushing precision. Enzo finally spotted the magnificent male jaguar resting on a fallen tree trunk near the riverbank, his rosette-spotted coat providing perfect camouflage among the dappled shadows of the gallery forest. The photographer began capturing images from his boat, but the distance and angle weren't providing the dramatic close-up shots he needed for his magazine assignment. Against his better judgment, Enzo decided to approach the jaguar on foot through the shallow water at the river's edge. He had photographed leopards and lions in Africa using similar techniques, but he fatally misjudged the situation. Rather than providing an escape route, the water actually gave the jaguar a significant advantage. This was the big cat's preferred hunting environment, where his swimming ability and aquatic hunting skills made him even more dangerous. The 220-pound jaguar had been aware of Enzo's presence since his arrival, but had tolerated the distant observation from the boat. However, when the photographer entered the water and began approaching on foot, the big cat's territorial instincts identified this as a direct challenge that required immediate response. Jaguars are ambush predators that prefer to attack from concealment, and the male used the riverbank vegetation to position himself for a surprise assault. Enzo was focused entirely on his camera settings and composition, unaware that he was being stalked by one of South America's most efficient killers. The jaguar's attack came without warning, as the big cat launched himself from the riverbank, striking Enzo from behind as the photographer waded through the knee-deep water. Enzo had no time to react, as 220 pounds of muscle and fury drove him face-first into the muddy river bottom. The jaguar's powerful jaws clamped down on Enzo's skull with a crushing bite to the head, causing catastrophic brain injury. The jaguar's devastating bite, evolved specifically for crushing turtle shells and caiman skulls, caused rapid incapacitation with the efficiency that had made his species the apex predator of South America's waterways. Within moments, the jaguar began dragging Enzo's body toward the dense vegetation along the riverbank, his natural instincts driving him to cache his kill in a secure location away from potential scavengers. The big cat's powerful build allowed him to move his victim through the water and into the gallery forest with surprising ease. Enzo's boat was found drifting empty downstream the following day by local fishermen who reported the discovery to authorities. Search teams located Enzo's remains 2 days later, cached beneath fallen logs and vegetation approximately 50 meters from the attack site, consistent with typical jaguar feeding behavior. His damaged camera equipment was found nearby, partially submerged in the muddy riverbank. Local guides later confirmed the area was an active jaguar hunting corridor, known for territorial male jaguars that aggressively defended their prime fishing spots. The investigation revealed that Enzo had violated basic safety protocols for photographing dangerous wildlife by approaching a territorial jaguar in its preferred hunting environment on foot. The incident led to enhanced safety briefings for photographers working in jaguar territory and stricter guidelines for approaching big cats in their natural habitat. The photography community mourned the loss of a talented artist whose passion for wildlife had ultimately cost him his life. But Enzo's encounter with a territorial jaguar wasn't the only time big cats proved their deadly efficiency as apex predators. It was February 3, 2013, and the treacherous mangrove swamps of Bangladesh's Sundarbans stretched endlessly under the oppressive humidity of the Bay of Bengal as Nazir Hossain navigated his small boat through the maze of tidal channels that separated this remote wilderness from civilization. The 36-year-old fisherman had joined a small group of illegal tiger hunters after climate change and overfishing had made his traditional livelihood impossible, leaving him desperate to support his large family. Nazir and 2 other local men had turned to poaching after being recruited by middlemen who promised substantial payments for tiger parts on the black market. None of the 3 had experienced hunting dangerous game, but the desperate economic situation in their coastal village had driven them to risk everything in the world's largest mangrove forest, home to one of the most dangerous populations of Bengal tigers on Earth. Armed with old rifles and crude traps made from materials scavenged from their fishing equipment, the group represented the desperation that drove local people to hunt endangered species species for survival. The Sundarbans tigers were known for their adaptability to the unique mangrove environment, but they generally avoided human contact whenever possible. These tigers typically attacked humans only under unusual circumstances, such as injury, old age, territorial defense, or when natural prey became scarce. The dense mangrove ecosystem and frequent human intrusions created situations where such encounters were more likely than in other tiger habitats. Bengal tigers are among the world's most powerful predators, with adult males in the Sundarbans weighing between 320 and 360 pounds and possessing incredible strength, speed, and hunting ability. The tigers of this region have developed unique adaptations for hunting in the mangrove environment, including the ability to swim long distances and an unusual tolerance for salt water that allows them to move freely throughout the tidal ecosystem. Nazir and his companions had set up their crude trap system using a goat as bait, positioning themselves in makeshift blinds constructed from mangrove branches and fishing nets. Their plan was simple: wait for a tiger to approach the bait, then kill it with coordinated gunfire before it could escape into the dense swamp. But their inexperience with both tigers and firearms would prove fatal in an environment where mistakes meant death. When a massive male tiger approached the bait site, the group's nerves overcame their judgment. Nazir fired first, but his shot struck the tiger in the hindquarters rather than a vital area. The wounded 350-pound predator roared in pain and fury before disappearing into the mangrove thicket, while the panicked poachers scattered in different directions during their chaotic escape attempt. Nazir became separated from his companions in the maze of identical-looking channels, his unfamiliarity with this particular section of the Sundarbans working against him as he tried to navigate back to their boat. The wounded tiger, rather than pursuing the fleeing hunters, had taken refuge near the bait site, where his injury and pain made him increasingly defensive and aggressive. 2 days later, Nazir's desperation to retrieve their expensive equipment and the valuable goat bait led him to return to the trap site alone. His family's mounting debts and the prospect of losing their home drove him to take this dangerous risk despite his companions' warnings. His companions had refused to go back, but Nazir's family's dire financial situation drove him to risk the dangerous return journey through the mangrove channels. The wounded tiger had remained in the area, his injury preventing him from hunting effectively and making him increasingly territorial around the location where he had been attacked. When Nazir approached the bait site, the big cat's defensive territorial response near the site of injury identified the returning human as the source of his pain and injury. The tiger's attack came as a defensive ambush when Nazir moved through the narrow channel near the trap site. The 350-pound predator launched himself from the concealment of the mangrove roots, his massive body striking Nazir with the full force of a wounded animal defending his territory. The tiger's jaws clamped down on Nazir's neck and head with devastating, crushing power, his natural killing technique designed to end threats quickly and efficiently. The big cat's assault lasted only seconds, his defensive instincts neutralizing the perceived threat before he retreated deeper into the mangrove thicket. Forest guards found Nazir's remains 3 days later during a routine patrol, his body bearing the devastating injuries inflicted by the wounded tiger's defensive attack. The investigation revealed the crude trapping equipment and illegal rifle that had led to his death, highlighting the desperation that drove local people to risk their lives hunting endangered tigers. Nazir's death underscored the complex relationship between poverty, conservation, and human-wildlife conflict in one of the world's most dangerous ecosystems. His family's grief was compounded by the knowledge that his illegal activities had contributed to the decline of an already endangered species, while his surviving companions abandoned poaching after witnessing the deadly consequences of their desperate venture. Thanks for watching. Click the next video for the next stories.